writing processes using revision maps and probabilistic topic models. Then learning analytics for online discussions, a pedagogical model for intervention with embedded and extracted analytics. And then finally, understanding promotions in a case study of student blogging. So the first paper is Peter Reimann is the presenter, and we'll have 20 minutes per paper as in other sessions, and then I'll start showing the signs to at 5 and 1 and 0 minutes. Yeah. So
within the 20, I assume.
Yeah. So and then 10 minutes for discussion. Yeah. So
thank you. Can you hear me? Yes, thank you. The paper is should actually given by Vilaythong Southavilay, which we call Toto for obvious reasons, but because it's a good part of his PhD work in a project that Kalina and Raphael and I work on. But he is back in Laos currently, and we couldn't fly him into here, and I was in Europe, so it's on me to give the paper. I will not talk about the technical details. They are, I think, to some extent described in the paper version and the proceedings, and they also then you find references to the work that informed the technical development. What I will do is, because that's not so well covered in the or much covered in the written form, also talk a little bit to the teaching and learning scenario around it, because I was the one who taught the course that we used also to as an instance for the data and text mining. So the wider topic is collaborative writing. Collaborative writing is an essential skill these days. There are lots of studies or increasing studies that show that the majority of documents in academia and research, but also in business, is co-authored or jointly authored. The single-authored essay, which is so typical for higher education in the English-speaking countries at least, is really a rare instance in professional life. So educating students, in our case at uni level, to engage in collaborative writing is probably worth doing. Collaborative writing is complex. Writing itself, even if done just individually, is a highly complex process that has attracted a lot of research, for instance, from cognitive psychology and writing education and applied linguistics. But when you combine it with the complexities of teamwork and coordination efforts in teams, it becomes a truly challenging task. And there's, again, lots of research that shows how challenging it is. So just to give you a bit of an idea about the coordination issues, there are many forms of which writing, the distribution of work in writing can take place. For instance, one thing we often see, but if we are teaching collaborative writing, don't want to see that often, is that's essentially one student who's writing the document. And hopefully he or she had some discussion with her team members. But if that's not reflected in the writing environment, we actually don't know, and it may also not have happened. Then there are forms of collaborative writing which are very linear, and from which one knows from writing research that that's likely not an optimal way to go about writing. And then there are all sorts of mixed formats of coordinating the work, which begin to look more like what professional writers and what happens in professional contexts, which is considerably more complex than what students usually experience at during their university education. So let me come to sort of contextualize the approach and the visualizations form we have developed. Let me give you a quick idea what the course looks like, the scenario looks like, which we use to draw demands from and requirements from. It's a master's course with few students, so it's not a large course in terms of numbers, But it has project work, and the work students have to do. The writing work extends over weeks and extends essentially over the whole semester in a combination of individual and group assignments. The particular structure here is that we put students into teams of 4 to 5 students for 2 weeks each, and they had to together write a Google Docs document around a topic, word length 3,000, so that's a medium-sized document. And both the team membership as well as the topic varied, changed every 2 weeks. The writing task, this is the writing environment. I'm sure you all know Google Docs to some extent. So over here on the left, we have the writing environment. On the right, there are comments from students on the text. And the documents, the template we gave students had 2 parts. A part A, where students were supposed to formulate their individual understanding of a reading or 2 readings. And it had a part B. Oops, wrong arrow. It had a part B where students were supposed then together, more collaboratively perhaps, at least that's how we designed the task, had to sort of work on relating the local reading, the current readings to the big themes of the course or of the field. The field, by the way, is learning sciences. The course EDPC 52.1 is the first unit of a master's on learning sciences and technologies, which we teach in Sydney. So that's the writing environment and the writing task, at least in general terms. And so what's the challenge, even in a class of 22 or thereabouts in a master's course? The challenge is that we want to provide feedback not only on the finished product, on the essay, as one is supposed to do, of course, but we also, given that we want to educate students on the collaborative aspects of writing, we also want to give them feedback and guidance on how to work together to create documents. So we have to look at the process as well as the end products. And if you do this, for instance, on Google Docs, the process is quite densely documented. Google Docs stores versions whenever changes are made, or has certain heuristics when it stores documents which regrettably change over time. You find more details on the challenges of using the Google Docs API in this regard. But to make a long story short, Google, at least in principle, keeps track of every version change. It keeps track of who did the revisions and when, and on what part of the document, obviously. And so that gives us then data. But the easy part is the final product. Well, if we have cycles of 5 groups doing every second week finalizing a 3,000 word document, that looks like a doable task. I can sit down and read through these essays and grade them or appraise them or give feedback on various aspects using a rubric as one does. But of course, there's also these revisions, right? And the revision history tends to be large and extensive. And if I now, as a lecturer or teacher of this course, cannot be going through all these versions and drawing my conclusions, so I need help from computer scientists, and this is what we sort of formulated as the task. We want to get information on the process and the products that go beyond the final essay in a way that we can provide feedback to students, either directly or through the lecturer. So this then, just to give you an idea about the number of revisions, this is the cycle, this is the group number, so we have 6 cycles, 5 groups, that gives us 30 documents, and then you see the number in the second column. You see the number of revisions, and I come to the other indicators somewhat later. this is the corpus we work with, either as a total or also on a weekly or bi-weekly cycle. And what we came up with to make this kind of information useful now for feedback on learning and writing and collaboration around writing, collaboration for writing, I probably should say, is three kinds of visualizations, which we call, or using words others have started to use, revision maps, topic evolution charts, and topic-based collaboration networks. The way, in principle, it's done, and this is directly taken from the paper, is so we start on the left with Google Docs, using the API, get to the version history, use that version history directly to create the revision map. But for the other two visualizations, the topic evolution chart and the topic collaboration network, we have to do fairly extensive pre-processing and further processing, not only to identify topics as latent constructs in the corpus, but also to deal with the intricacies of the Google API when it comes to storing revisions. More on that in the paper, and I'm not going into this in detail. Anyway, at the end, we end up with these visualizations that I will explain in a second a bit more. And so you can look at this as a combination of three kinds of mining activities. We look at the artifacts themselves, the documents, and perform some analysis on them. We do some light form of process analysis or sequence analysis by looking at how topics change over time. And we do a combination of text mining and social network analysis by looking at who contributes with whom to topics as they develop over time. For the first visualization, and this is the only one we in that course shared with students actually, as well as a form of feedback to them, is the topic map. It works on the level of sentences and words and revisions, so it's very much related to what students do, and so with a bit of guidance how to interpret this, they understand what this visualization means. So the columns are revisions. We're looking here at one document. The columns are revisions. The rows are paragraphs. As they appear in the sequence, they appear in the Google Doc. If we do this weekly or so as a feedback, the sequence, of course, may change in the rows. Each cell then is a change to a paragraph. And the color codes means, green means words are added. The darker the green, the more words are added at that point. Red means words are deleted, and the darker the red, the more words are deleted. If something is yellow, like here, it means that the numbers of added words and deleted words balance. If a cell is white, that means in that revision cycle, that paragraph was not changed, has not been edited in any way. And this is sufficient and close to the performance of students to answer a couple of questions which are definitely interesting from the lecturer's point of view, but also from the group's point of view. So one can use this visualization fairly straightforwardly to locate where most action took place and where least action took place. We can look at the timing of revisions. And we did encourage students, of course, to work continuously and not wait until the deadline of the bi-weekly cycle to do their work. We can look at the organization of the work, the distribution of tasks, writing tasks in each team. In particular, was it done sequentially or in parallel? And if it was done in parallel, how was work further distributed? To give you an idea how these questions are answered, so this is fairly straightforward. Where did most action take place? You can look at the at the net change column over here. In this column, one sees which paragraphs have been mostly edited, and the one darkest green is the one that has seen most edits. At the same time, you see that these edits are essentially attributable to one person, also up here, also C3. And they also happened during one revision. So it's an intensively edited paragraph, but it's not one that has been collaboratively worked on. And that's not required, certainly not if changes are in part A, up here. So this is section A, where we would expect more individual work. And this down here, over here it says section B. This is where we, at least by design, expected more collaborative work, because it was meant to connect ideas. Other question you can have is organizational revisions. So you can look at blocked revisions. And here you see, for instance, C2, a very active author in this team, which we also can see by her summary box up here, summative box up, or aggregated box up here. C2 edited, did a huge block edit for part B, which was supposed to be the collaborative edited part. And she also did a block delete shortly, and she cleaned up the document before it's due. And so basically part B here has been block edited by one author. Interestingly here, in this team, collaboration did take place, but it took place in section A, where it was not required, but more, of course, even more welcome, perhaps. And so here you see, for instance, that, where's my mouse? Mouse gone. Well, let's merge back on it. I lost my mouse. So here one sees that one paragraph is edited by not only at multiple times, but also by multiple authors. Like this one here, paragraph 3 in part A, section A. So the final paragraph 3 in section A has been edited by 3 people. Also, it's in a sense an individual one. And interestingly enough, somebody else than the first author also did deletions. That's a critical point, sort of deleting something somebody else suggested in his or her individual section. So this can either mean trouble, or it can mean that this team has a very agreeable working climate. That we can't read out of the data, but it's certainly something one needs to keep an eye on if it comes to deletions in parts which are individually edited primarily. So that's things we can answer with the, some of the main questions we can answer with the topic map. Topic evolution chart, I'm interested as a lecturer and as a teacher, I'm interested in how topics develop over time. I'm particularly interested if students come back to topics introduced before, if they relate readings across time and not only work just on the topics that come up with the readings of the day, as it were. And so topic evolution charts help us to answer questions as to the life cycle of topics discussed. Now, to identify topics, that's an active research topic in text mining, topic mining. And we decided to go with the state, what's currently suggested as the best practice method, latent Dirichlet allocation, not latent semantic analysis. And there's, you find discussion in the literature if you're interested in the problems of latent semantic analysis and why latent Dirichlet allocation addresses a good part of those. The drawback is that it's highly complex statistically, using Bayesian stochastic models, Bayesian and Markov models, and it's not trivial in any sense. The paper gives a bit of a sense of the technicalities. Anyway, we build on substantial work there and extended somewhat to account for the fact that we are doing data text mining, topic mining, not across a number of static documents, like an archive of publications in the New York Times over the last 10 years. That's what something typically would be done with these techniques. But we are mining for topics in revisions of one and the same document, which is different and has a number of, necessitates a number of changes in the algorithm and the preprocessing in particular. Anyway, what you get out of this then is sort of the relative weight of a topic in a revision over time. And these are just test data we used, but they make for nicer graphics. I'll show you a real result in a second from our students' documents. And here you see things like topic 4, that's the lowest one, is not even in at cycle 3, has not been brought up yet, it has not been in discussion, only comes up at revision 5. And at revision 3, there are 3 topics in the mix, and you see here the relative frequencies or the relative weight of these, and how that develops over time. And of course, to make this interesting, one has to understand what's behind the topics. That requires then knowledge of what the readings and the discussion were about. Final visualization is who contributes to topics, not only how do the topics develop over time, but who contributes to them. And for this, we use topic-based collaboration networks, building again on substantial work in topic mining and combining that with social network analysis. Methods. To make a long story short, and I'm really not the person to talk about the technical aspects that much, is what you then get is collaboration networks. So here the nodes are authors. The one in the square, each topic page had a lead author or a coordinating author, and that's the one in the square. So the coordinating author should be in touch with all the other authors if things went well. In this case, that was the case. But one also sees, for instance, that authors A3 and A4 here have not shared a topic together through their revisions, but they shared topics with A1, the coordinating author, and A2, which was a peer. Just to sort of show how this works out on real data, so coming back again to my my course, number of revisions we talked about. On the right side, then, you find the number of real changes in these revisions, so things that change between documents, the deltas. And maybe interesting, you find the topics, the total topics that we identified. Want to look in particular into this column here. You see here one group and one cycle in 2 weeks generated contributions to 32 topics in one document. Now, if I was the lecturer of that course, as I was, I probably would think they are all over the place, and that would give me an indication that that may be too much of a topic. I'm done soon. This is a real revision map based on real data now from, again, the second document in the second cycle for one of the groups. And here I see with one eye that this has been not good collaboration. Right. You hardly see any sequential editing. It's all block editing. You hardly see anybody contributing to anything else other than his or her own section in part 1, the upper part, and in section B, where there was supposed to be more collaboration, the connection to the big ideas, doing that together, that also did not happen. And this is for the same document, a topic evolution chart, just plotting 3 topics. Out of 11, we were able to identify with the LDA, the latent delay allocation method. And I'm just showing this because it sort of maps our understanding. So topic 4 is the assignment text. So each of these pages had an assignment text initially. And so students started with words from the assignment. If you look at topic 4, but that dropped then over time. Topic 3 is a specific reading, which was important for those 2 weeks, and that's what they discussed then continuously. And topic 9 is something that came only up in the discussion section. However, that's then based on one student or not a lot of collaborative work, but it's writing that's more or less done individually. Anyway, they contributed something new topic-wise in that section. And these are the collaboration networks, the topic collaboration networks. Just, these are all of them through all cycles, for all groups, so one can mine them in their own right, I guess. I want to highlight these three here, because they are, the grades for these papers were pretty high. We have distinction twice and lower distinction, so these are pretty high grades. So when I did the grading, I thought these are good quality texts, but as you see, there's very little collaboration on the topics. And so if I only would look at these essays from the essay quality point of view, everything would be great. But if I look at them from the collaboration point of view, again, here from this perspective, it's immediately clear that they have been written by one person predominantly, and or maybe by two, and I can figure that out. So that's it. Conclusions. Well, what I've shown you is sort of three types of visualizations to help me, or maybe other lecturers, hopefully, to make sense of process writing. The methods I've shown, I've only shown them for you for a small corpus. They are stable enough in the literature. They work on hundreds and thousands of documents, but we don't have the need on that level for process feedback so far. The ultimate aim is that we not only use this to produce in the background, and a good part of this is done manually or using algorithms from R, with R in particular that has LDA algorithms, but to automatize them sufficiently so that they can be produced automatically to students and serve as continuous feedback on at least weekly level. So far we only can do this for one, and that still involves hand production. So the future work will be in particular around scaling up the method so that it can be done more automatically. Thank you very much.
So we have time for one question.
I'm pretty sure we have. I cannot really say the details. Would have to look up the PhD, which has been finalized last week. I think the sensitivity, in particular, if it's not a lot of revision, so the corpus is relatively low, is definitely an issue. So anything frequency or signal-oriented, frequency-based signal-oriented will pick on that up only if it's high frequent. And I think we also went under the best practice of having 1,000 iterations to identify the prior probabilities. We only ran it 200 times in a Markov model for practical reasons. So I'm pretty sure, Ulrich, that there are things we are missing. And as I guess I have shown, we sort of use it for indicators mainly. And if I want to know more, I zoom in, which is good. I know which revision to look for. If you have more questions, in particular technical ones on the paper, the Toto's address is in the proceedings and all. Send email to the first author of the paper. He can answer everything, in particular on the technicalities.
Thanks, Peter. Okay, so now we'll go for the second paper. Alice